I print mostly structural parts, and to do that, I normally print with PETG, a 0.8mm nozzle, a lot of wall lines, and heavy cubic infill. And all of that is to have a safe margin for the load capacity on my parts. The slicers don't seem to have any better method of providing more support in some areas versus others, and so the entire print must be treated the same way. One night while I was having a look at some Voron parts I'm getting set up to print in ASA, I noticed something strange about the main body of the stealth burner. I had a closer look, and it seemed that they found a way around the problem. So let's take a look at that method, and I'll show you how to add that same feature into your own designs and your prints. So butter up your build plates and stick around. This is the stealth burner, one of the newest additions designed by the people at Voron. It's a fairly complex and compact little assembly, and my plan is to use these to test direct drive on my Ender 3 version 2s. While I was looking at the extrusion path, I picked up on something strange, and that is this detail. These are extra wall lines, and at first I thought it was a software glitch, but after playing around with it, this is no glitch. This was completely intentional. It was built right into the design. What we're seeing here is several very thin hollow sections. These little voids are treated no differently than a larger void by the slicer, adding more wall lines exactly where you decide you want them to be. The difference here is that the final part actually has no voids in it because that empty space was made so small that it was easily filled during the print. If you have an area that needs better support, this is a good way to do it. And you can even add in voids intersecting each other, which will give even more walls, more bottoms, and more tops. This is great for resisting twisting, but it would also work well for areas taking loads in compression. So here's something I print on a regular basis. Let's see if we can add some of that reinforcement inside. And this is what it normally looks like with 35% cubic infill, printed with a 0.8mm nozzle, and 4 wall lines. It takes about 7 hours to print one. So the load's being applied down and towards the maple leaf. I'll create a sketch, draw the areas I'd like to be reinforced, and extrude a very small amount, and in this case it's going to be 0.25mm. We'll array that a few times, and here's what we end up with. And if we section it, you can see those hollowed out areas. Now to bring that into Cura to see what happens. So this is one method of adding reinforcement inside a part without changing the infill density. And this is a pretty handy little tool, though it is kind of limiting. So now back to the options in the slicer. And while making this video, I discovered a different way, which may work well for some parts and not so much for others. And to do that, it's adding a support blocker. Change to modify settings for overlaps. And now we can select the settings we'd like to see. This is a more powerful tool than the other one because it allows more options than the other. I can change it to solid, change the infill settings, add more walls, lots of different options. The disadvantage here is that it's kind of cumbersome to add, and if I want to do many of them, it is best to do one first, then copy it with those changes and then move it. The other problem is that it would need to be redone anytime a new model is added in, whereas the other method already has those features built right in. It's time to check up on that stealth burner main body. I've printed one in gray ASA as a test and my final one in black ASA. And the ASA is pretty rigid, but I think we have a bit of a flaw. The thin section is still flexible, there isn't much structure there, and we have an area of high stress on that inside corner. The straight lines look really cool, but there's an obvious weak point, so I've added a gusset into that area to make the part stronger. I have also adjusted the mating piece so they fit together nicely. It took about 2 weeks to make this video, and in between I had some time to think about those extra walls, and I came to the realization that maybe they've been added to prevent bleed of LED light from coming through the surrounding area. Even if that's the case, it was a great little exercise to see what options are there for creating stronger prints. Maybe it was there for strength after all, but if you know, please leave a comment. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.